Welcome to the Marketing for the Culture podcast, powered by the African American Marketing Association. Each week, we'll bring you an insightful conversation from some of the best experts in our industry on how to advance our career. Join the collective of Black marketers across the world advancing their brand as we work towards creating a collaborative community.
And welcome to another edition of the Marketing for the Culture podcast, where we talk about the business in the community and grow this community of the business that we out here in. I'm your host and producer, CL Palmer, and on the other line I have none other than the one and only founder of AMA and creator of this here podcast, Michelle Gomez. What's going on, Michelle?
What's good, people? What's good? Today is a good day, beautiful day, and the World Series starts today. So we're going to get to that later.
Yeah, we're going to definitely talk about that. Now, I am going to go against my, I guess you could say, home team, but you know, we're going to get into all that. We wanted to switch up the pace. You know, Michelle and I have been doing some interviews, and we've actually done this podcast a couple times, and unfortunately some things happen. But nonetheless, we are here making it happen once again, where we're going to get into some news and some of the current happenings out here in the industry. You know, some of these trends, not so much the trending topics, but the things that are affecting business and things that we feel like are important enough that, you know, podcast listeners, the members, everybody needs to know. So this week, we're going to talk about the content creators. And of course, this being the Marketing for the Culture, we're going to be talking about Black content creators. And our main source for this discussion is going to come from an article from Essence. The title of it is "After Facing Discrimination on TikTok, These Content Creators Created Their Own E-Community." And in that article, they interview a couple TikTok creators who have done some, you know, real good, solid content creation, grown their platform. They have done some great marketing, got some branding and everything you look to do, but they got into a little controversy because they decided to speak their minds. And so we're going to take this into three sections. So we're going to talk about the compensation, how they're making money. Then we're going to look at how free is free speech on some of these platforms. And yeah, you know, I got to say it right. And then after that, we're going to talk about getting into credit. And depending on how the discussion goes, we might go a little out of order. But those are going to be the three main topics for this podcast. Before we get off into it, anything that comes to your mind when you start thinking about content creating?
It's a lot of work.
Right. Of course, it's a lot of work. We know it's time consuming. This is a real job. You know, and let me set you up a little bit different. Now, like 2021 has really been the year that's been defined by content.
Yeah.
And even the monetization has been the bigger story of it. And you just came back from content marketing world where, you know, Joe Pulizzi needs to get his flowers. You know, that man in that organization has been preaching monetization and putting your time and effort into making content that is not only marketing your business, but also making money for you.
Right.
It's really come to full fruition. So, you know, based on some of the things you've seen up there and just your general thoughts, like where are you at on how we are approaching content creation in this year, 2021?
Yeah. So content marketing world covers everything, you know, blogs, audio, video, and then all of the different channels, social media channels, video channels, whatever the case may be. And to go back a little bit, in 2018, I created the 7 steps to creating an influential personal brand. And with that, all I do is talk about how you need to create content, right? And that creating content is the core, that's the nucleus of your brand, right? And one of the things I say, however you decide to create content, you have to play to your strengths. So that's the first thing, you know, be it video, audio, or writing, you have to play to your strengths because that's what's going to resonate to your audience, whoever you're trying to reach, even if you're starting from scratch. So with that being said, I mean, we know there's a rise in video, all kind of video content, be it short or long form. And I think it's easy for people to gravitate to that, especially when they see the success, the popularity and financial success of a TikTok creator or a YouTube creator. But if you're a good writer, write, you know, and you'll make your money. There, you can still do sponsored posts on blogs, as a writer. So don't be discouraged, but I think you really have to stick to your strengths and whatever you decide when it comes to creating content.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say this subject hits a little close to home because I've been doing a lot of research into what people are doing in the space because I'm working with a close personal friend of mine who has a decent following on TikTok and Instagram. And we're navigating these waters. And I'm really starting to notice a few different things that he's having trouble with, and come to find out it's a bigger issue. And so I'm probably going to go ahead and make myself an advocate for getting some of these things fixed
Mm.
sooner rather than later, because it's a lot on the line. Uh, we out here putting, blood, sweat, and tears, hours and hours upon hours, you know, ideas, everything you can think of being poured into this. And, we just want the fair share.
Yeah.
If we gonna do this thing, we gotta do it right. So with that said, let's talk about the money. How these creators are getting compensated. And in a previous iteration of this podcast, we talked about an LA Times piece where they follow a creator, Lynette Atkins, who had some very run of the mill content. Excuse me, say that again. She had a run of the mill content strategy and monetization strategy, which is, of course, sponsored posts, advertisements, the ad money, on YouTube, and just basically doing most of the things that these influencers are doing. But it's really a lot of that is a lot. It has to be done by people with a big following. But for the most part, I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for people who don't have big followings
Mhm.
that can make money off their content sooner. They just need to look for more ways. And that's why, we're big on affiliate marketing. And we could have an entire podcast about affiliate marketing. And this is kind of going to be one of those where we're going to talk about the news, but I'm also going to give you some game.
Absolutely.
And so I read a piece in Martech series, and they were talking about Loom actually giving monthly residual income to people who are converting people with Loom content. And you can partner up with them either as a straight affiliate or as a content creator. And for anybody who makes videos, content, it's an easy win-win. You make your regular video content and you just, use Loom, and you're not really doing anything different. You might be making some different kinds of content, but if you advocate for a platform and do what you do, I don't see nothing wrong with that. And I feel like that's a faster way to get to money
Yeah.
than just depending on the sponsorships and these advertisements, because as we're going to talk about, when you get to a certain point, they might be a little harder to get by.
Yeah. I mean, some of the things that come to mind is we'll just say sponsor content, right? It could be
Right.
platform specific, brand sponsorship. So you have sponsored, you have the affiliates. There's affiliate networks that you can join, or you can reach out to individual companies and see if they have an affiliate program. I always say start with the companies, especially SaaS products that you are currently using personally
Absolutely.
or in your business. Go down to the bottom of the page, see if they have affiliate program, and start with that or reach out to them. And then, of course, there's, the digital products, physical products, speaking, books. I guess that can go into digital products. There's so many ways to make money. And I think lots of times we try to do so many things at once, but maybe you just need to focus on one thing, grow your audience, and then some of these other opportunities are going to come to you. But yeah, there's money.
It's a
There's
lot of money out here.
there's a money to be made. And if you're able to create content and get the attention of people, you're going to make money. And then you can decide on how you want to make money because someone's going to pay you.
Absolutely. And I will say this, in doing some research for this podcast, I assumed that there was monetization on every single aspect of these social platforms, but it just never occurred to me that you can monetize a like on a post. I like that right there lets me know that everything is for sale. If the like a like is a like, now if you
Crazy.
now I will say that if you are good at paying for likes and you get the likes from the right set of people, then that notification is gonna go off that this person that you follow and 10 other people like it that you follow like this post. I think that there is some real precise algorithm bending that you can do with some of this stuff, but it just never occurred to me that that's where we were at. But I shouldn't be surprised though, because I'm just looking at the swipe ups, the story posts and the feed posts. That's all I'm concerned about. But I'm not thinking that the likes and the follows on certain platforms, all this stuff could be paid for, man. So it's out here, man. Once you get to a certain level, you're definitely going to see a lot of things, and more power to y'all. Y'all have created an economy, of itself.
It's crazy because I think there's a group of people that just enjoy social media. They enjoy posting their family, their friends, their daily lives, selfies or whatever. And then you got people that like, I enjoy it when I make money, right?
Right.
And because I want to make money, they're studying the science to going viral or the science of being successful on that particular platform. And I feel like I know the science, but I haven't even tried to do it for myself or my brands, right? Because there's so many moving pieces that go into it. I'm gonna stop there because I don't want to be a hater on this episode, but I'm gonna stop.
No, but I feel you. It's a lot of opportunity if you take the time to invest into that opportunity. It's some of this stuff does happen organically, where you're just doing what you do, you're sharing what you share, and then it becomes something. But I think it's turned into, like kind of Squid Game-ish out here in these streets. If I'm gonna be point blank with it like everybody's out here competing.
I agree.
One way or another.
I agree.
If you're not competing for the attention of a brand, you might be trying to get the attention of some man or some woman or some ex that you might want back, but you're in competition and you're out here competing one way or another.
I agree. And that's why I said I didn't want to be a hater, right? Because Like, I think I'm conversational funny, right? Casual
Right.
conversation. I can say some stupid stuff and we'll have a good time. But for me to record the video, or for me to be like, hey, Sia, hold your phone and I'm going to pretend to fall, like, that's not in me. That's not who I am. I'm not an actor. I don't even know if I would do a skit. Like, that's just not me. And I think if you're naturally talented and funny, you can do that. But I do think there's some people I'm like, is this really you?
Right.
Like, is this really you? Or if I just have moments where I'm blasting my music, maybe I just want to dance in the mirror by myself. I don't feel like I need to record that.
Yeah. You know what? And I'm kind of the same way. And unfortunately, because I want to be a great podcast host and I want to be known for talking, that I'm going to have to just start talking
Mm.
into my phone. But let me ask you something. Do you pay for streaming services,
Yes.
like multiple?
Yes.
And you're a YouTube head. I know
Yes.
this for a fact.
Yes.
So you have what I would call I guess, late millennial sense of what entertainment is, which is it needs to be high quality.
I like that. Yes.
And I'm the same way. I pay for stuff and I look for great quality in my entertainment.
Mm.
So I'm not going to do something that I wouldn't watch, which is the problem in the first place of me just starting to do some of this stuff. Like, you're making me do stuff that I would not watch, but it's
That's
what I
what,
have to do.
yeah, I never thought of it like that. That's a really good point. I think one thing I find funny nowadays, because I'm from Cameroon, so West Africa, Central Africa,
Shout out.
and my peers, mid to late 30s, like when I see them doing the skits and the impersonations, like I can relate to that, right? Because that's my childhood. They're acting out
Right.
my childhood, and I think it's funny. But do I follow them? I don't.
No,
And sometimes I feel bad, right? Because I do have that moments when I was like, yeah, I do need a good laugh. I want a good laugh, but I don't necessarily want that in my timeline.
yeah, it's not always needed. I, and like we said, it's a competition, so they're always on the grind. So they're dropping. My man's dropping a skit every single day. So if I don't get on for Instagram for a couple of days, like I'm just seeing like every skit from him.
And I salute him. And I actually want to talk about that. First of all, shout out to all of these comedians because
Yes.
they've crushed it during COVID, right? Especially last year when we were shut in and shut out. Country Wayne did an interview on the Breakfast Club maybe 2 weeks ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And that man, like he's the great thing about him is not only is he talented, he's disciplined, right?
Mm.
And I think he does, I forgot what he said. I don't know, a skit a day, 5 skits a day or whatever. Like his schedule is ridiculous. But he made how much money? It was a couple million. He said he made a couple of million like in a couple of weeks or whatever. He was in like $13,000 in debt. But now he buckled down, did his skits on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much the man generates millions of dollars on a monthly basis, right? Because of the YouTube. Started from Instagram, had a few things going on Facebook, YouTube, but then he doubled down, got serious on all platforms, started collaborating with some other comedians and actors, and he just took off. I didn't know who he was prior to the pandemic. So, and then of course, merchandise. I think he says something like he doesn't want to be in a movie or go on tour because that's going to take away from his schedule of creating skits. So once again, it speaks to the power of content creation, playing to your strengths, playing to your strengths and doubling down, right? And not to say he won't he has multiple revenue streams, and not to say he won't do other things, but maybe this is just the season that he needs to focus on the skits, right? And then he can tour later. And then, but because of his online success, he just got a book deal, right? Which is going to be another revenue stream. So I don't know. I would say check out that interview of Country Wayne, and I think Zaytoven was on there too, on the Breakfast Club. And I know there's a snippet that went viral. It's been a while since I watched it, but he really broke it down on how he became so successful in the past 2 years. And of course, I also think with success is momentum. So he was already doing things, and then, you know, the pandemic just magnified things for him in a good way.
Okay. No, I see it. Like I've heard his name a couple of times. I'm not even gonna lie. I've just really gotten into the whole Instagram, TikTok comedian thing just because of my mans. Because you know, I watch professionals. You know, I watch NBA. I don't watch too much college ball. I watch a lot of Dave Chappelle. You know, Larry David.
But aren't they professionals? So we're not.
Hey, hold on. They excuse me. When I say professionals, I mean people who have been established doing this for a living. Now they have created a professional lane for the amateur content, because that's what it was. It was all amateur stuff before, and now it's grown. It's become a thing. But you know, I look to the Titans. You know, if you on HBO, you solidified. You know,
I feel you, right? And I know I'm not the best person to argue this because I'm not crazy about comedy to begin with. But the reason why I'm somewhat familiar with some of these comedians or their success is because I watch a lot of podcast interviews, right? And then they're talking about the business of comedy. I don't follow Country Wayne, and there's a couple of other artists. I think Desi Banks.
Yeah, I'm on Desi. Shout out to him. We was at the Hawks game last night. I didn't see him, but I know he do a lot of work with them.
Oh, that's what's up. And there's another comedian, I have no idea who he is, but I listened to their interviews or their manager interviews, and it talked about the business of their comedy and, you know, what they've done from the past 5-10 years up to this point. So that's what I'm fascinated by. And then, you know, major shout out, I'll say to Kev on Stage.
Yeah.
Right? Who definitely has a bit of, I guess, old school and new school, because he tours, right? But he's very vocal about opportunities that have not come his way, and that he just took matters into his own hands. And now he has an app, because it's like, oh, HBO, you ain't gonna sign your boy.
Right.
That's okay. I'm gonna create my own streaming app, you know? So I'm gonna say those are still professional comedians.
They are. And I did not mean to slight the people who are at the forefront of, like, I guess you could say, social comedy. That's probably where I would put it. You know, there are professional social comedians.
Professional social.
Right. That's the title I'm gonna roll with.
Yeah.
But like we said earlier, you know, I have those standards, and I know once you do a few different things, then okay, so you're doing something, you know, because people, it's like right now, and then we can move on, but I'm gonna say right now we're at a point where social media is the comedy club.
Yeah.
And so right now, everybody is trying jokes. They're trying to get seen. Everything that the comedy club would be doing for stand-up comedians is going on social media. And sometimes, you know, I will go to the comedy clubs, but I'm somebody who's, you know, waiting for somebody that definitely heard of that's gonna bring the
Yeah.
pain. And I'm probably gonna pay a little bit more ticket for that. But things are changing, and I'm starting to get more into everyone. So y'all check back in with me in about 6 months. I'll sound a little different, but
I think Lamar Tyler said it best when he wrote his book a couple of years ago, maybe 2014, 15. The gatekeepers are gone. So
yeah.
there is low to zero barrier of entry because of social media.
Mm. You know, but it kind of depends on what you're talking about. And I will take that moment to segue into the next part of the Black creators' journey out here, which is the free speech. The thing
Mm.
that's most important about social media is the ability for anyone to basically say
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And what we're starting to see is when certain things come up, they get these quote unquote shadow bans
Mm-hmm.
where people are losing views, followers, the algorithm is dinging them and making them drop. And I'm starting to wonder, like, if these shadow bans are a real thing, how harmful is it to the content creator to have confidence they can have free speech on these platforms? Or are we just limited to just, dancing out here shucking and jiving? You know what I'm
But
saying?
even
Like,
even our dancers are not getting credit, right? So, and I mean, you bring up a good point, right? But then I think about the African cat in Italy. He doesn't even talk. He just has his hands like this.
mm,
And he has over 1 million followers and, a bunch of brand deals.
hmm.
I forgot his name and I don't have my phone on me. But he grew a following by reenacting videos like you could have done it a simpler, showing you could have done it a simpler way. And then he has his hands out.
Mm. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to. You gonna have to pass that to me. I gotta see
Oh,
what's going
yeah.
on over there.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
gonna have to put this in the show notes.
Now I'm gonna go to this Essence article that we are sourcing this conversation from. And the article uses the creators' names, Consciously and Ziggy. So they talk about the shadow ban, and let's see, Consciously says similar to the above thing. I've noticed my views drop dramatically when I mention certain topics such as racism.
Mm.
I have 1.6 million followers, and sometimes my videos will struggle to get a couple thousand views when I discuss those topics. Ziggy says, when I started shifting away from making only comedic content, I noticed my numbers start to drop rapidly. If I spoke up about racism, I would lose about 1.1 thousand followers per week for almost 3 to 4 weeks straight, and my video views would plummet. If I had a platform of 420,000, I shouldn't be getting 1 to 2,000 views. Now, we can see that that's a real thing. You
Mhm.
mention something, and then 4 weeks after that, you're losing thousands of followers and thousands of views. Now, now your free speech has cost you your way of living.
Mm.
If this is a real thing, you really out here playing with people's money, and you need to either say that we are going to play by these rules and everybody gonna play by these rules and this what it's gonna be, no political, no nothing, which is what you don't want. You had to come out and apologize and come out with the TikTok creator fund and give a bunch of money to a bunch of people. But what are you sacrificing when you speak out on your platform? That's the thing that we always talk about with these athletes. Use your platform, use your platform. We everyday people got platforms, and when they come out with these messages, they're getting pushed down. So I don't know. I'm a little concerned, which is why I have my reservations for some of these, especially with the TikTok. I knew, you know, not trying to agree with nobody, but I have my reservations about the Chinese being in charge of it.
Mm,
Um, and they make up their own rules. It's very much whatever they say. They're playing by our rules on this side, but for the most part, you know what time it is with them.
yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. Give me your 2 cents on it. Where do you see that we could really either mitigate? Like, what can we do about this?
I mean, there's so many things, right? And unfortunately, the bad part is when we sign up for these platforms, we scroll through to the bottom and we check on the terms of agreement. We have no idea what that says, right? And to sum it up, I'm sure it says we have the right to change our minds on anything at any given time, in a nutshell, right? So that's one thing. The second thing is the shadow ban. It does outrightly, it sucks, right? And part of it is like, yes, there's some type of there's multiple suppressions in the algorithm. I think first, before George Floyd, we were thinking, oh, well, they want me to spend money on ads, right? Especially if you have a business account. Well, they
Right.
want me to spend money on ads, right? Well, now it's not the ads anymore, right? Now it's not a business account or ad spend. There's racial context because racism still exists. I just experienced it yesterday.
Racists still
Um,
alive. They just don't be.
yeah, it's
Shout
just
out, shout out, Kanye.
yeah, it's just different. But so I think the best thing I could say is a couple of months ago, where a Black TikTok content creator, his video went viral, and he literally was showing when he types in white supremacy, it will populate. But if he types in Black supremacy or anything Black Lives Matter, nothing will come up, right? And there's things beyond our pay grade that is going on in the back end that we don't know, and none of these organizations are going to take ownership of the problem.
And this might be the same instance, but Ziggy in the article actually comments on that same subject.
Mm-hmm.
So he says one of the worst forms of suppression he's faced on TikTok is when he tried to join the TikTok Creator Fund in Marketplace. Said, while writing my bio for the Marketplace, when I put two movements I identify with, Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ, TikTok flagged it as inappropriate content or banned, and I was not allowed to use those words. However, I could type in white supremacist, neo-Nazi, and other words that are criminal with no black backlash from TikTok. Blatant racism right there. That's what he says. So
Yeah.
I can see if that's what's happening. And we had a little discussion about how some of the stuff is coded, but that's more overt. You could just put that in and it pops up, but you can't put in anything pro-black.
Right.
That's an issue.
Right.
And no matter what you say, oh, we're looking to get it fixed, and how you get like that in the first place? That's the problem.
Yeah.
You know what is going on where you either having to deal with so much negativity behind those terms that you're not letting it go up, and you can't combat that, and your AI is not smart enough to tell the difference between what's positive and what's negative.
Right.
Then you have a bigger issue.
Right.
You want, getting off on a tangent, but you want people to trust that they're getting the content that they want and they need to see, but not everything is getting a fair shake. And that's just what it is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Any of this content could go out, and depending on what you talk about is going to determine where it goes.
And I know it just pisses me off.
It does. It's a thing, and the solution that the content creators have in the article is to use fan base. Now, fan base is a good idea on paper. I haven't been a personal user of fan base, but I've heard some things about it. And if you are making some very high quality content and you have people who are willing to pay for it, then you should definitely use a site or a platform like Fanbase. My thing is the opportunity for you to make money is on the social platforms.
Right.
The sponsorships, the placements, the swipe ups, the likes, the ad dollars, all of that are on the social platforms. The millions of dollars that can be generated are on the social platforms. It's not being created by the consumers. You're getting that because you have an audience. And so the fan base to me is not really an answer. I'm old school, you need to have a website and you need to work on a email list, but that's still not the answer for these content creators.
It's
They
not
need
a
to be able to get
viable
it
answer right now.
right now. That's a good point. That's a very good point. But right now it's a tough decision between going exclusively on fan base and my man, he said he was mixing it up. He got some days where he only drops on fan base and some days he drops on TikTok, which I think is cool, but I don't really think that's viable. I don't see that being the answer.
So first of all, shout out to fan base, right? It's needed. Social media is highly competitive.
Yes.
We get past the top 5 to 10 platforms, whatever the number is. However, the thing with fan base, eventually they're going to have to charge somebody, right? They're going to have ads or whatever. They have to generate money some kind of way. The second thing is, do you know how hard it is to migrate an audience?
Oof.
And then not even like to a new up and coming social media platform, right? Not, oh, I'm closing my Instagram, follow me on Twitter. Because I'm like, okay, bad, cool. I'm on Twitter too.
Right.
But fan base, what is this? Right? It's so hard to migrate an audience. Third, if I'm Nike and you're like, oh, I want to do this. You did this brand deal with me 2 years ago on Instagram. Now I'm exclusively on fan base. You think I can do some more sponsored content? Nike probably be like, what? Yeah. I mean, if you don't find, even if you find another Black person or whatever your relationship, for them to bring that to their team.
Right.
So it's not just like, oh yeah, I got you, it's an organization. So it's a hard sell, but hopefully, 2-3 years from now, fan base will be popping and people can, start making the type of money that they're making on these current platforms.
I would think so, but I don't think that the business model is fleshed out enough, for it to really be viable. I could see Patreon or some of these other companies maybe eating those up and maybe making like a suite of products all in one house.
Yeah.
That probably would make more sense because right now, just that one thing, they're basically in competition. But if they have some technology and some pads, whatever, bring it all together. Y'all figure it out.
That's a very good point.
We need some way to monetize and not be dependent on just the numbers on social or what it happens on social. Like we need to be able to say, all right, this is what our real audience is. We're 10,000 strong. You know what I'm saying? Maybe one day you might be a Young Turks type of organization where you got everybody paying money to do everything and you can get the dollars you need for whatever and you'll be self-sustained. I had to mention them real quick because I realized they had a Samsung channel the other day. So yeah, I'm watching, whatever the shows at least once a day. I'm not a contributor. I'm not on the list, but yes, getting a little bit of that. It's definitely help like my rotation of content consumption.
Yeah,
It's, I could just turn it on and it's there. And then when I figure out, all right, it's time to watch a movie, I can just move on. Uh,
interesting.
yeah, man, I kind of want a Samsung channel. I ain't gonna front. I don't. I can't find the application.
People need content. When I say people, I mean these brands, these organizations.
Look,
Um,
look, real quick. If anybody out there can give me an application to get in the Samsung channel, at CL Pod Gang everywhere.
Listen.
I need that. That's a whole nother subject.
But you got me thinking, like, how can I diversify my channels, my audience? Yeah,
Man, it's a lot out there. I don't even want to get into that because I'm a freaking idea fountain, and we'll be talking about something else than a podcast. But we talking about content and content creators, and just to like wrap things up because we're talking about how we're going to stay viable, and part of that is making sure that we're getting credit, and it's been a thing that has pretty much started since what's it? Is it Jalaiah or Jalaiah? I forgot already.
I think it's Jalaiah.
Jalaiah, it looked like Jalaiah Harmon, who started the Renegade on TikTok. Well, she started on IG and it went to TikTok and went viral. And she got her credit later, but it's not happening to everybody. And so if we are going to solve all of these things, we got to make sure that people who are starting the trends are getting the credit, they're getting the following, and they're able to succeed based on what they started. Right now, they're talking about, maybe introducing a way to tag original choreography, but that's going to be an issue in two ways. Not everybody's doing choreography. My man's does comedy. And you talked about the AI having trouble seeing Black people. And I think that's going to be an issue.
Yeah. So, well, let's go back to your guy. He's a comedian, and you mentioned how he can say one thing, but then someone else can take it and run with it. So, you want to elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah. So, he does some very targeted comedy sometimes. They're like Black people be like type things. And he'll have a very poignant example of things that we do. And then somebody will take basically the skit and put a different spin on it. But if you look closest, it's pretty much a frame by frame reenactment, just some little cultural tweaks. So it doesn't look like the same thing. And then it'll go viral and it'll have more views than his. He was like, bro, I came up with that joke. You just did my joke and got 6.5 million views. And mine did like 250.
I wonder if he can copyright that. It's just the copyright process is so slow.
And we talked about this before, with the whole, you making some points in a speech and then somebody turning it into a blog post. It's so tricky and it's such murky waters.
Yeah.
And because it's the Wild West, like we've never not been in the Wild West of the internet. Yeah. We're still in the Wild West. Because there's no regulation on how things get published, sought out, reviewed, it's just go. Like nobody is able to keep up with it. And so we don't really have anything in place. And trying to work backwards is, putting the toothpaste back in. and it's a real headache, but that's a thing that we just dealing with.
Yeah.
We're Black, we make the content, and then people take from us, and then they go to their people, and then it's off. Like it's a part of the game, and I think that we need to start finding ways to, I guess, just protect ourselves. Make sure that we're doing it. That's probably the best recommendation, because trying to wait for this AI to do it or these companies to do it, it's not going to happen. I'm just telling you right now. It's not a priority.
just listening to you, I mean, the internet is what, 30 to 40 years old? Social media is just 15 years old, I
Yeah.
think, 15 to 20 years old. And then AI is still a baby and it's not even, mass. So there's a documentary on Netflix called Coded Bias, if I'm not mistaken. And, look, AI is great, but it is biased, right? It doesn't consider Black people, it doesn't consider people of color, of pretty much anyone of darker complexion. So it's going to be my thing. TikTok. I'm not really a fan of TikTok, but this is the part that frustrates me, right? If I can't type it, if I can't type anything pro Black, how sophisticated is this AI going to be when you're talking about identifying objects
Right.
of a person dancing? Like, you're not even letting me get my characters, my words in. And now you're going to identify me dancing? Come on, man.
Yeah. And it's to the point where I'm starting to feel like the algorithm or the AI doesn't know enough about the culture. It hasn't been indoctrinated into really keen in on what we do. So
That
when we
part.
say stuff, it's not the same thing, because my
Yeah.
man, he gets flagged all the time for inappropriate stuff, but it's not inappropriate. It's just Black.
Yeah.
And so is Black content inappropriate or is your robots just dumb
Well,
and racist?
yeah, because it's there's definitely a group of white people or non-Black people that if they don't know what it is, it's wrong. And it's not wrong. You're just not part of the culture. Like you
Right.
said.
It's a mess. I really tell you, I'm optimistic that if we follow the words of one Joe Politic, like I talked about at the beginning of this podcast, do not build your house on rented land. You will be fine.
Yeah.
Right now, a lot of y'all out here is making a lot of money on this rented land. Y'all subleasing out here and y'all making y'all money, but y'all see, hey, Facebook went down. Y'all was out for about 5-6 hours, not being able to make that coin move.
And Instagram and
Instagram
WhatsApp.
out. All of it was out. That's all I'm saying. They control the algorithms. They control the outcomes, what they want, what they don't want. They have complete control. I love what we doing out here, but you gotta look at your platform. Get your platform together. That's the moral of this story. Get your own platform. Not saying you can't grow, you can't use them to help grow your platform or make a living. You should definitely do all of those things, but definitely get your own platform together.
Yeah. I think, as marketers and creators, we want people to be mindful, right? Like, and it's not all about the money, but as you're making money, what are some of the other things you need to be doing? And, being very, very mindful about your business during this process.
Absolutely. All right. So that is going to do it pretty much for this podcast. I know you say you wanted to talk a little baseball. You want to talk about those Houston Astros in the World Series, taking on the Cobb County Braves. For those of you who are in Atlanta, you know what I mean by the Cobb County Braves.
I grew up in Atlanta, spent time in Atlanta, but Houston has made me the woman that I am today. So I'm definitely rooting for the Astros. And then just overall, I will say this, the Braves had a good franchise in the 90s while I was in Atlanta, mid to late 90s. But Houston has a hot franchise the past couple of years. So Astros in 6, praying for a sweep, but Astros in 6.
Like I said, I'm down here in Atlanta, but I'm actually rooting for the Astros because my man's Dusty Baker has had a couple shots at getting a World Series, gotten real close, and this feels like the one. This feels like the time right here. You know, the Braves have done some things to get into their new stadium that's not talked about enough. And if you want to do some research, you know, look up a few of them AJC articles about the building of it was SunTrust Field. Now it's Truist, but you probably had to look up SunTrust Park because most of the articles. But yeah, a lot of stuff going on. So you know, we gonna see. We're gonna see if it's any bad. We're gonna see if it's any bad juju. If they can overcome the juju, then you know, more power to them. But I feel like it's not gonna happen. It's too fresh.
Interesting.
You know? I will key you in on that. But I'm a little short on time. I went a little bit over what I said I was gonna do. But you know, we try to give y'all what y'all want. Anything else you want to tell the people before we get out of here, Michelle?
Yes, one more thing. The Dallas Digital Summit is coming up December 8th through the 9th, if I'm not mistaken. We are doing a giveaway. So if you listen to the podcast, go to Apple, rate and review, send us a screenshot, tag us on Instagram, and we have a drawing every Friday for 3 weeks. So that's October 29th, November 5th, and November 12th. Every Friday, we'll draw someone's name and they will win a free ticket to the conference. For more details, you can check out our newsletter and all of our social media platforms.
And then just in general, please subscribe to the podcast, rate and review. Let us know what you think. 5 stars, because anything less would be uncivilized. And we thank y'all for listening. And till next time, we out here. Peace.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Marketing for the Culture podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe, whether it's on Apple, Google, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. And of course, our videos are on YouTube. If you have a moment, feel free to give us a rate, review, or just comment. We appreciate our sponsors for their continuous support. Also, if you're interested in learning more about our sponsors or becoming a member of the African American Marketing Association, visit aa-ma.org.